Hey guys, I'm excited that you clicked on this video. This video is one of 3. So if you're watching this one, know that there will be other ones posted within the next few days, or they're already posted out there, and I'd encourage you to go support us and watch the other 3 videos. This is like something hopefully you haven't seen out there in the hunting industry. My buddy Nace and I shot and filmed this and edited this up. I just wanted to do something a little different. I really wanted to have stories that hunters connected with from other hunters that weren't necessarily about a buck, but were about the individual and really had a way to impact and maybe change somebody else's life out there through their trials and tribulations that they went through, to really show the hunting community in a different light. So there's 3 parts of this. It's called Your Roots Tour. We're super excited about this. We shot this over 3 years ago, and I guess God's now putting it on my heart that you need to share this, you need to get it out there. Nace and I can produce and film and do a lot better than we did even on this video now, but I'm still excited to get this out there. Please comment down below, let us know your thoughts, share this video out there, and maybe we'll do more like this in the future. Well guys, it is hard to believe, but we are actually on episode 1 of Your Roots Tour, and who knows where this tour is going to lead us. I am super excited about this, totally invested in it in every way and emotionally, and I'm hoping the stories connect with our viewership, and I think this can have a really positive impact on not only like the hunting community, but just a lot of people's lives. So we're in the back country. We got the Hercules hitting the pavement right now, fixing to be hitting the back roads. We're going to a very special spot that has some really special people, and we're going to be meeting the Hesters, and it's one of those places that you'll see when we drive in. It's just, you can tell there's lots of old stories there. It's just a place when you drive in, you feel like you're at home, and I don't even know the whole story that they're going to be sharing with us, but I cannot wait to hear it, and I cannot wait to share it with you guys.
How are you guys this morning?
All doing good.
Good.
Could have picked a better day.
It's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
to see you.
Yep. So as Barry welcomed us into his home, you instantly felt like you were stepping into a place of comfort, into a place that you could even call home. It was only a matter of moments before Barry was into telling stories about every mount that was scattered throughout the room, and every antler that was sitting on the table, and all the pictures that were laid out in front of us. And as we walked through the house to see like all the time and effort the family had come together for and put into building this place, and the staircases and every little intricate detail that was in this place, that they had really established and put their roots into this place and made it their own home, and it was centered so much around their hunting grounds there. And after seeing all the trophies that he had lined on his walls and that filled his house, I had to see what his hunting grounds looked like. So I made him a deal and told him that we had to put some boots on the ground. So we grabbed the Dryshods and we headed out.
You know that big 8-pointer I showed you hanging up on the wall, so
Right.
it's one of the biggest ones that I killed. He came out in this food plot here late in the afternoon. He come off the creek bottom. I was setting down the power line. I have a stand called Barry stand on the power line, and I saw him cross just real quickly. I saw it was a buck. I didn't know what he looked like or anything like that. But anyways, I ended up making a stop down the power line back up behind the briar patch and ended up being able to harvest that buck. right here on this, and that's wheat, you know, and we've just found that wheat just works so great, especially in the wintertime. You know, they love the carbohydrates, I guess.
Right.
You know,
and it's easy to plant. So he was all by himself up here?
No, there was a herd of does in the field too. Yeah, he wasn't by himself. He came in with a herd of does for sure. People will wonder and ask me, said, how did you find this place? And I remember before I ever owned this place, this goes back probably 25, maybe close to 30 years ago. I had leased property on the back side of this place to hunt on. And I remember one day walking up to the fence and looking and seeing my first field. There's no fields in this area. This area is heavily timbered, thousands and thousands of acres of Ozark timber. And this was one of the first pastures I had come across in this part of the country. And I walked up behind a cedar tree and I saw a turkey head pop up over the hill in front of me, and I go, wow, there's a turkey. And I had just gotten into turkey hunting. This was probably back in 1985. I saw a turkey. Well, then here comes another turkey, and before it was all over, about 20 turkeys walked out in front of me. They spread across the field, and I'll never forget that scene of 20 turkeys all kind of walking in a line across the field. And I remember thinking, God, those are some of the biggest turkeys I have ever seen. And this place just really, at that point, of course, you know, I'm hunting the land next to it. I know that this field is there. So, you know, it becomes a little bit more important part of my life. You know, later on, I was out in my garden. I lived on the airport. I had a little house on the airport in a place called Lost Bridge Village. And I had some really beautiful tomato plants. And I was out tending the tomato plants, and a guy drove by in an old pickup truck, and he stopped and he says, boy, those are some good looking tomatoes. And I said, well, do you want one? He says, sure. And I gave him several tomatoes. And we introduced ourselves, and he says, my name is Clint Merrill. And I said, do you own the Merrill Ranch? And he goes, yeah. He says, come over anytime and I'll show you around. Well, that was how we got in touch with the Merrills. One thing led to another. We ended up renting the old farmhouse that they had because they only lived here a few months out of the year. I had sold my house in the village and asked them if I could rent this farmhouse. And then the long story short is they eventually said that we need to consider buying this place. So I went to the bank and I asked the bank, what's the most amount of money I can get? And they said, man, the most we can loan you is this. And I took that number and I went to Mrs. Merrill. Clint had passed away. And I went to Mrs. Merrill. I said, this is all the money I can get. And she said, I'll take it. So that's how we ended up getting this ranch. And I've always said that was a God-sent deal. There was just no way. There's so many people wanted this place. It was 200 acres almost on the lake, 4,000 foot of lakefront. It had over 2,000 zoned for docks. And I mean, in this part of the country, that's a huge deal. And we ended up getting it, and that's when I first started managing it. It had been a horse ranch for many years. It then turned into a cattle ranch. And when we bought it, there were cattle actually on it. And the ranch at that time had 2 cattle guards on the county road that kept the cattle in. And I'm not sure exactly what year it was, but the county came along and said we can no longer have cattle guards on county roads. So the cattle guard's taken out, and the gentleman that had leased this ranch for years for cattle had to pull his cattle out. And that was at about the same time that we bought the ranch and started managing it completely for wildlife and recreation. We did not have any cattle or really want any. And so I started, at that point, I started plowing it up and putting in food plots and different things. A few years later, my son got cancer. He was 6 years old, or 5 years old at the time. And one of the things my wife and I want to do is try to get some extra income coming in, so I decided to do a shooting resort on it. So for several years we ran a shooting resort with bird hunts on it, hunting pheasant, chukar, and quail. And the shooting resort was designed hopefully to make some extra income to help with hospital bills and other things. But what it really became was therapy. to deal with the circumstances of his life, my wife and my son had to go to Little Rock and live literally for 3 months during his chemo and during his radiation. During that time, I was up here running our store and taking care of the ranch and try to keep the providing for the material existence going, so that we didn't end up in super financial trouble. Had a good time, broke even on it, but it was just never enough money to really pay any extra. So we closed down the shooting resort after about 4 years of doing that. But during that time, we planted a lot of milo for the cover, and there would be mornings we'd go out and we might see 30 deer standing in a food plot, because at that time there wasn't a lot of hunting going on at all, and I never did let a lot of hunting go on this place. You know, later on, we just enjoyed it for our family and the boys. You know, all killed a lot of Cole and his friends killed their first deer here, and we just enjoyed it as a family. That one buck that I showed you, or I'll show you on the wall, I've named that buck the last chemo buck, because that buck, I killed that on the week our son finished his final chemo treatment, which is, if you've ever had a child that had cancer or known a friend's child that's had cancer, that's a big moment. When you're done with your treatments and you can start trying to get back to somewhat of a normal life. And he had his final treatment on like a Monday or Tuesday. I came home from Little Rock, ended up just needing some time in the woods, got in the woods, sat in a tree. This buck came along and ended up being one of the best bucks of my life. And I will never forget that. The other thing that I really remember about hunting with Cole is his first turkey. We have a place on the ranch called the High Meadow, which it's up at about 1,500 feet above sea level. Beautiful 1 mile long ridge top with a field on top running out in front of it, and it's always held turkey. They love roosting on it because the lake's on one side, the field's on the other, so they've got good fly down, and we just always had time. So Cole and I went up and built a blind in a briar patch. We just cut a hole in the briar patch, put up a 2x4 in front of us so that we could hold our gun up, and we were sitting there one morning at daylight, and we heard, sounded like 4 to 5 gobblers go off in the timber to our left. Well, those turkeys, you know, I mean, you never know where they're coming from. Well, anyways, these birds ended up circling around us and came in behind us and ended up coming within 10 feet of us when they come out from behind that briar patch. And that was the day Cole got his first turkey. Those are the 2 bucks, or the 2 kills on this that I really remember the most, is the last chemo buck and then Cole's first turkey. Those are just all super special moments that none of us will ever forget and don't want to forget. I mean, that's what it's about. The food plots got better. I started scaling back the way I did them. I didn't plow the ground near as much. We did more no-till. And toward the end, actually, it was just very sparse ground tillage at all. We did mainly wheat on it because it comes up so easily, and it's affordable. You know, you could put down tons of wheat and it not cost a whole lot of money, and it makes a great food plot, and the deer had never seen wheat before. And it took a couple of years for them to figure out that this was really good to eat, and they started piling in. And we used to talk about sitting on a food plot and they'd start just piling in at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and you just see 10 to 15 does, 20 does maybe on a food plot, and that's just one food plot. I made it so that it was all natural. I tried to fix it so that there were several food plots in several places, and I always felt like the deer had a real choice in where they were. They did not get forced into one particular area, and it still became the luck of the draw. If you pick the right food plot and the right wind on a day, you might have a magical hunt. There are other days they were not on that food plot. They were on another food plot, so it made it more fair chase. And like I say, we really controlled the shooting on it. and the harvesting of the bucks. And we harvested for this part of the country. You know, in northwest Arkansas, the Ozarks is not known for big deer, and some of the bigger deer I had ever seen really came off this ranch. And of course, we've killed some nice deer, but it was never really about the size of the deer. It was just always, we love venison. We'd rather eat it than beef. And you know, we just started adapting that lifestyle where we tried to harvest as much of our own food as we could, and venison's a big part of it and still is today. So that's how we lived on this ranch for over 20 years. And then I was 50 years old when I bought this ranch, and I'm now 70. And we realized this was always our strategy when I bought this ranch, was always, this is our retirement. We're self-employed. So we knew that we would never have the retirement funds needed to have a comfortable living by just working and trying to stick back a little money every week. We just knew that that was never going to happen. So we just worked hard. My wife and I worked very hard together, paying for this ranch and working all those years and sacrificing new homes and new cars and new everything just to live here and then enjoy this lifestyle. Recently, we did put the ranch up for sale, and we have sold the ranch now. And I'm in the, I did get lifetime hunting rights on it, so I will be able to hunt this ranch. It will probably never be quite the same because of the number of people on it now compared to just me and my wife. The wildlife's already sensing that, and we hope that the new owners will kind of participate. They did want to put the food plots in. I helped them this year do that. But this will probably be the last year I work on the food plots on the ranch, and it'll go down in history as one of the most wonderful, beautiful places I have ever been on. It's one of the most beautiful places in northwest Arkansas. I really hope and pray the new owner, and I think he will, is going to take good care of it and be a good steward. And I just, when we got the offer on this ranch, I immediately bought the land next to it because I thought that this was going to be a real special place someday, and I wanted to invest in that property. So now I'm actually on a new project. You know, I've got the land that borders the ranch was all timber, cedar thickets, and no roads, no anything. And so upon closing on the ranch, I immediately started building roads and getting access. And so now we're working on some new acreage up there to put food plots in. We got some of our food plots planted a couple weeks ago, and looking forward to going up there and seeing how they're coming along. And we're also in the middle of building us a nice pond up there so that we can raise our own fish. And Brenda and I are going to hopefully just retire up there, and we call that Bear Mountain. It's just a beautiful view, and like I say, I've spent the last 40 years of my life within 2 square miles of this place, and I have so many memories of leasing the land, renting the land, having the ranch, and now getting the chance to go in on something that has never been touched by human hands practically, and build something from scratch. So I'm very excited about that, and of course we keep the wildlife in mind. We're gonna put in some really great food plots, clear some timber out for them so they got some open spaces, and try to protect them. As a matter of fact, we're looking forward to turkey season this year, and hopefully we'll have the birds back in and just have another wonderful hunt and continue being able to provide ourselves with this great, wonderful gift God has given us.
Barry, I appreciate us for having us out and just hearing the stories and opening up to us, and I hope that the viewers connect with you. I know they will. The property's phenomenal. Your new property is going to be really something special, so we might have to do a follow-up maybe at some point just to see how things turn out. But
we'll stay in touch.
Yeah.
It's great to have you guys out,
Yeah.
and best of luck on your tour.
Yeah,
I hope it's going to be fun for you.
I hope so too. So, all right, guys, we're wrapping up episode 1 of the Roots Tour, and we had a fantastic time here with the Hesters. We ate well. We heard great stories. They were so accommodating to us, and who knows where this Roots Tour is going to bring us. Make sure you guys are following us on our social media platforms, and until next time, have a better than average day.